Dr. Rajiv Ranjan, IAS, retired, Director, ICRO, NPC, and also Shri Pradeep Kumar Jha, IAS, Commissioner, Textile Commerce and Industry, Government of Manipur, Professor N. Lokendra Singh, Vice Chancellor, Manipur University, Shri A.K. Joshi, IFS, PCCF and HOFF, Government of Manipur, S.A. Sandeep Kumar Nayak, IAS, Director General, NPC, and Shri K.D. Bhardwaj, Director Jan Babu Singh, Registered Manipur University, to present the Lingyan stole, traditional stole we have arranged. First to our respected Chief Guest, Dr. Rajesh Kumar, IAS, Chief Secretary, Government of Manipur. Thank you so much. Next to Dr. Rajiv Ranjan, IAS, retired, Director, ICRO, NPC. Thank you so much. Next to Professor N. Lokendra Singh, Vice Chancellor, Manipur University. Thank you so much. The respected Shri A.K. Joshi, IFS, PCCF and HOFF, Government of Manipur. Thank you so much. Next, Director General, NPC, S.A. Sandeep Kumar Nayak, IAS. Thank you so much. Next, Shri Pradeep Kumar Jha, IAS, Commissioner, Textiles, Commerce and Industry, Government of Manipur. And last but not least, Director and Climate Action, NPC, Shri K.D. Bhardwaj. Thank you so much, respected Registrar, Manipur University, for doing the honor. Now I would like to request Dr. Rangita Bali Waikhom, IAS, Director, UHE, Government of Manipur, to honor our respected dignitaries with a memento. First, to our respected Chief Guest, Dr. Rajesh Kumar, IAS, Chief Secretary, Government of Manipur. Thank you. Next to Director General, NPC, S.A. Sandeep Kumar Nayak, IAS. Thank you so much. Next to Shri A.K. Joshi, IFS, PCCF and HOFF, Government of Manipur. Next to Professor N. Lokendra Singh, Vice Chancellor, Manipur University. Respected Commissioner, Textiles, Commerce and Industry, Government of Manipur, Shri Pradeep Kumar Jha, IAS. Next, we'll have Dr. Rajiv Ranjan, IAS, retired, Director, ICRO, NPC. Thank you so much. And last but not least, Shri K.D. Bhardwaj, Director and Group Head, Environment and Climate Action, NPC. Thank you so much. Now I would like to request our respected dignitaries on the dais to light the auspicious ceremonial lamp. Thank you so much for doing the honor. Now may I have the privilege to request Dr. Rangitabali Waikom IAS, Director UHE Government of Manipur, to deliver the welcome address.
Kurumjari. I, on behalf of the organizing committee, extend our warmest regards and heartfelt gratitude to the dignitaries on the days. Respected Sir Shri Dr. Rajesh Kumar, Chief Secretary, Government of Manipur. Respected Sir Shri Sandip Kumar Nayak, Director General, National PCCS, Government of Manipur. Respected Sir Shri Professor M. Lokendra Singh, Vice Chancellor, Manipur University. Respected Sir Shri Pradeep Kumar Jha, Commissioner, Textiles, Commerce and Industries, Government of Manipur. Respected Sir Shri Dr. Rajiv Ranjan, Director, ICRO, National Productivity Council. Respected Sir Shri K.D. Bhagwaj, Director and Group Head Environment and Climate Action, National Productivity Council. Respected Sir Professor W. Chambadu Singh, Registrar, Manipur University. Respected Deans, Heads of Department, Faculty Members of Manipur University. Respected Principals and Faculty Members of Government and Government-aided Colleges, Government of Manipur. Distinguished invitees, guests, research scholars, students, representatives of media fraternity, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm good morning to all of you. I welcome you all to the Manipur Sustainability Conclave on Productivity and Green Growth here at Manipur University, jointly organized by National Productivity Council, Ministry of Commerce and Industries, Government of India, Department of Higher Education, Government of Manipur, Indian Potash Limited, and Manipur University. Today, we are organizing this workshop as an important part of the Pan-India Environmental, Social and Governance ESG series of National Productivity Council with the core objectives for easy, comprehensive adoption of ESG by organizations. ESG is more than ticking boxes. It is about making a difference for the business and also for our world. It is about creating sustained outcomes that drive value and fuel growth while strengthening our environment and societies. It is where the environmentalist, sociologist, economist, strategist, technologist, by combining the real-world experience, work together with a commitment to change and to turn theory into action, where people and technology are working together to find solutions larger than today for creating a transparently brighter future for generations to come. So, ladies and gentlemen, today it is highly important to prepare our students for a changing world where education must address workforce trends in connection to social and economic development. Part of being ready for these changes means anticipating which skills will be needed in the future of work. So beyond knowledge comprehension, various agencies and organizations today seek workers who understand interconnections and complex systems, including environmental, social, and governance awareness. So understanding which skills are needed for the future reframes our commitment to social innovation as an important part of the learning process. Thus, education administrators, faculties, and students are key stakeholders to prioritize ESG skill training as well as ESG skill building through curriculum integration for creating a conducive ecosystem where our youths and future generation can apply environmental, social, and governance skills in their communities. I once again welcome you all, looking forward for having a very interesting and meaningful discussion. Thagachari, thank you.
Thank you so much, respected Dr. Rangitabali Waikom IAS, Director, UHE Government of Manipur, for that very detailed welcome address. Thank you so much once again. May I now have the privilege to request Dr. Rajiv Ranjan, IAS Retired, Director, ICRO and PC, to deliver the keynote address.
Good morning, all of you. I think while the projector is getting on, I'd like to Dr. Rajesh Kumar, Chief Secretary, Government of Manipur, Professor Loken Singh, Vice Chancellor, Manipur University, Shri Sandeep Naik, Director General NPC, Shri Pradeep Kumar Jha, Dr. Rangita Bali Vaikom, Professor Chand Babu Singh, Shri Bhardwaj, other distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. Basically, my work is to give you a little bit of a background why we are meeting this morning in this Manipur Sustainability Conclave on Productivity and Green Growth, why it is important for us to discuss about that. So that is why I thought I'll just do a little bit of a structured presentation with some few slides. So while that is setting, as you heard, that this is a series of meetings or conclaves or discussions that we are having across the country. And we had one in Guwahati recently, and we thought that we should have one in Manipur. And let me thank the organizers, the Chief Secretary and the Vice Chancellor in particular, that they were very readily, they were agreeable, and we are here before you this morning. As you have heard, ESG is gaining prominence, and we thought that we will let you know about why it is important for all of us to talk about productivity and green growth. Productivity is important for all of us. Yeah. Yeah, from here. Good. Thank you. You can, look at what is productivity. I was mentioning, productivity is a state of mind. When I say that, because it's an attitude that seeks the continuous improvement of what exists. It's a conviction that one can do better today than yesterday, and tomorrow will be better than today. This is a very philosophical and general point. And why am I starting with that? Because all of us can relate to that. This is what the European Productivity Agency talks about. This is a message of optimism. All of us can improve ourselves, improve our society, and that is what we are looking at. Productivity is not everything, but in the long run, it's almost everything. This is a quote by Paul Krugman, the Nobel Prize winner. So we can see why it is important for us. We may have different understanding, definition of what productive is. But we all know that focus on productivity results in better goods and services at a lower cost. It means extra profits for organizations. From the government, it means better services to the public, better utilization of funds. For the private sector, it means the companies do well, they survive, and we all know that the inputs that go into providing some goods and services, what is the value addition? This is the value addition that is important, and the sum total of this value addition is what makes the GDP. So if you look at it, we have a role to play in the economy, and productivity is an essential element of that. Next, I thought I will just show you a little bit of what this UN Sustainable Development Goals are. All of you must be aware about these. There are 17 of them, And the United Nations, I mean, this is a big history about it. I will not get into that. I'll just say that this encompasses almost everything that we are doing and we need to do to make our lives, worth living, and we do that. So why is UN coming in? Why is it that we look at it? And so we all know that there are huge challenges as far as the mankind is concerned. Number one is no poverty. Number two is zero hunger. Number three is good health and well-being. All these are what we are striving for, whether we are in the government, whether we are at the individual level in a family. But the question is, how do you measure it? How do you improve upon it? How do we contribute to see that it's happening? And why is it related to what we are discussing today? So we know that there was a target set up. And in 2030, for example, we are supposed to, get to some levels where we can say that a lot of action has happened. Unfortunately, because of the COVID, because of variety of issues in the last 2 years, the global human development index value has declined. The Ukraine war has added to large number of issues of supply chain, increase in commodity prices, and all that has led to what the world was doing very well in terms of general well-being and all that. Globalization was, all those things. There was a huge disruption. So recently, you see, yesterday paper, there was a whole, one-page article about the, interview with Mr. Steiner, who is the UNDP administrator. He is talking about these issues, and why we are talking about it is linked to what we are going to discuss in terms of how we contribute to UN Sustainable Development Goals. And then we come back to the issue of what is green growth, which is what the focus of what we are going to discuss today. It's a departure from the traditional economic strategy of grow first, clean up later. That means not growth at all costs. We have to look at responsible growth, the economic growth with emphasis on environmental and social concerns. It should be a low carbon economic growth, which means we are looking at a holistic approach designed to integrate 3 pillars of sustainable development. And what are the 3 pillars? Economic development, social development, and environmental sustainability. So we are going to talk about all these a little more in detail as we go along. And this is the, you look at, this is an intersecting lot of Venn diagrams are there. I'll not take too much time into all these. The idea is to set the basic ideas, and we have, speakers who are going to, we have the PCCF who will, for example, discuss some of the things in which departments are doing. So green, why are we talking about not growth alone, but green growth? Because it is, and it's also a iterative process leading towards a green economy. So how these intersecting, diagrams look at a virtuous growth cycle. This is what we need to understand. It has to be equitable, it has to be a low carbon, climate adaptation and mitigation, it should have strong communities and habitats, biodiversity, resilience, and ultimately social development and poverty reduction. And this is, again, I'll not get too much into it, but as we see during the course of discussion, we will look at how economics comes into it. Businesses, product market, factor market, households, they all have a role to play. And that is where productivity, the way we are discussing productivity and growth is relevant to, at each level, it has its own definitions and meaning. Now I'll come back to this, what is this greenhouse effect? Why are we talking about sustainability in today's context? We all know global warming. We all know the climate change adverse effects that we are facing. We are having early summer in February, the temperatures went like so much, and then there are issues of droughts, we have all kinds of issues. So basically this diagram talks about that greenhouse effect is what is leading to the global warming, and what is basically happening is the sun rays, I'll not get too much into it, but all of you know about this. So you see, there are some greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxides, and there are a lot of others, industrial, like there are perfluoroethanes, methanes, which are there, which come out of industrial processes. And these are the problems which they'll remain in the atmosphere for thousands of years. And there are some total of what we do in terms of development. These are the side effects or adverse side effects of it, which result, and they have a role to play in the global warming. Now I'll just mention that we'll get too much into technicalities, but these are the issues which are discussed at international levels. And just to get you an idea, that some of the gases are very they can remain for 10,000 years in the atmosphere. So we need to understand again which gas, CO2 versus, so those are again issues to go into detail. And just to summarize, the greenhouse emissions by sources, whether it is energy supply, forestry, transport, industry, agriculture, residential, construction activities. In fact, 70% of greenhouse emissions are from 6 sectors alone. Number 1 is power, that is power generation through coal and variety of other fossil-based resources. Second is steel. Third is automotive, that is the cars that we travel. Agriculture, aviation is the fourth. Cement industry is a major contributor, and agriculture itself, which is, that's why we need to talk about sustainable agriculture. Climate change impact, we all know, it's listed down. I'll, as I said, go very fast because otherwise it'll take a long time. We all know that increase in Earth's surface temperature means melting of polar ice. All kinds of issues are happening today. Rise in sea levels can, in fact, Bangladesh, neighboring, look at it, they have a real problem because as the sea levels increase, we have issues. So similarly, many island nations have issues. Irregular and erratic weather patterns, monsoons, a huge amount of problems. We have seen rainfall patterns getting disrupted, means the food supply chain is there. Flood and droughts are an issue. Forests, shift in forest coverage have issues. There is a forest cover, forest fires. Yesterday, I saw lot of forest fires going on. There are a lot of issues on agriculture, on food production itself, biodiversity, flora and fauna. So the climate concern, what is it? The COP21, there is Committee of Parties in Paris. They almost all the countries agreed to limit the global warming to 2%. Later it was made to 1.5 degree. That means from the pre-industrial levels, the increase of mean average temperature should not be more than 1.5 degrees. But the current global emissions, which means that if you look at the numbers, I will not get into this, just to get a point that we have problems unless we change our ways. The global warming will be so high that it will disrupt the planet in many ways. And the poor will suffer, the marginalized will suffer much more, and that is why it's a duty to look at all that. And that is why sustainable development is important. So we are looking at net zero pledges and the updated country ambitions met in Glasgow in COP26. The world is still at 2.4. That is, even if we look at all that, 2.4 degree centigrade global warming trajectory, which means it is unacceptable, and the window of opportunity is closing very fast. So that is why there is a huge amount of urgency in this matter. We can't, live the way we are. This will create a huge problem. And this graph is just showing how it is. That if we don't do that, if you see on the curve is very, very high. This is IPCC estimates. And global mean surface temperature would rise. That will be 1 to 4.5 degree. That means it can rise as high as 4.5 degrees more. That is catastrophic. So there are issues like this which we need to understand, and so because of that, we should know why the urgency of the problem is with us, and that is why what is India's commitment, COP26 commitment by India, that is reduction. This is something again India has been very, very responsible about this, and they have made the commitments in Glasgow. COP26 was in Glasgow, and later COP27 happened last year in Egypt, in Sharm el-Sheikh in November 22, and basically what we are talking about, reducing intensity of the emissions of the economy by 45% by 2030 compared to 2005 levels, reduce carbon emissions by 2.5 to 3 billion tons by 2030, increase non-fossil fuel sources in electrical power by up to 50% by 2030, install 500 gigawatt of renewable energy by 2030, and become net zero by 2070, which is what the Panchamrit, the 5 slogans by the Honorable Prime Minister was there. Now these are very ambitious things. These are long term also. How does it relate to what we are doing today, what we are discussing today? What is the relevance that we have? This is what we need to understand. And we thought that today's discussion, you will get some idea of how it impacts us. So if you look at the agriculture and allied sector, one sector, for example, to take an example of this, the government of India has been talking about doubling farmers' income, looking at how the farmers, but we all know that global climate change, it causes an impact, are creating an issue in terms of productivity, in how, so there are issues that we need to understand. 70% of India's population is still dependent on agriculture and subsectors. And the major sustainability, all these things are important to understand. I'll go a little fast. I'll also talk about a little bit of the allied sector. When we talk about agriculture and allied sector, see, allied sector is something which is doing much better than the agriculture per se. Agriculture per se was growing about 4.6% in the last, let's say, 6 years average, whereas the allied sector has been growing about 7 to 8% in the last 6 years cumulatively. And allied sector is what? It's basically fisheries, animal husbandry, dairying, and agroforestry. And these are the segments which are growth engines. And this is what is relevant for an economy like Manipur. And we should look at how we can, look at these sectors and make it. So India has, emerged today as a net exporter of agricultural exports. We are doing very well in that. In this, I must also mention about the cooperative sector. The cooperative sector is very important. Sahkar se Samriddhi. That is another slogan. 30 crore, people are involved in the cooperative sector. 8.5 lakh cooperatives are there. So this is something which we should talk about and understand how the global warming is impacting this and how we take the climate resilient efforts. And this is what we will go into detail during the course of time. So basically, just to summarize, productivity and green growth, there are three aspects of it. Total factor productivity, which means what is the technology, ICT, innovation, digital stack that India is building. Digitization is a big issue. It is driving growth, like we are becoming the world leaders as far as the digitization is there. The public sector, digital platforms that we have created. Labor productivity is the other pillar, and which we important skill education capacity building that we do in institutions like this, what the university does basically. Capital productivity of land, machine and finance. So all that leads to green growth. Again, I'll skip, this is again the same thing in a circular way. That is, it's a circular, closing the loop, a circular economy, innovation, investment, monitoring, production, consumption, waste management. And so basically, how do we transition to a circular economy? This is very important to understand. So we need to redesign, reuse, repair, recycle, minimize waste, and by doing that, boost competitiveness in the economy. That is very important. That will bring economic, social, and environmental gains. This is what we are trying to achieve through this kind of seminars. So basically, green growth is possible only through sustainable practices, resource efficiency, and renewable energy resources. And it envisions a future with environmentally sustainable and equitable. That's important. Equitable economic growth, resource security, healthy environment, air, water, land, and restored ecosystems with rich ecology and biodiversity. So in that, I'll just again mention the importance of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We all know this is the slogan which the Honorable Prime Minister has given, and one earth, one family, one future, in the context of what we are discussing. That is LIFE, lifestyle for environment. This we will hear a little bit more as we go along, because this is very important. This is something what we can relate to and we need to do. And we have been doing. Let me also say that this is not something new. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is our cultural heritage. We are just trying to go back to our roots, remind ourselves that India as a country, as a civilization, has always talked about this. If you come to Manipur, we realize how important these value systems are. And this is what we are again reiterating. And this is the slogan, what is the mission life? Lifestyle for environment, as declared by Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji in Glasgow, was on the sidelines of COP26. And this is indicative of all-inclusive green growth, improving the standards of living. So basically a P3, pro-planet people, who have a shared commitment to adopt and promote environmental friendly lifestyles. This is something very important, and this is something which is what we need to do. In fact, this was launched last year. The Prime Minister and the UN Secretary General launched it on 20th October 2022 and in New Delhi. And this is what we are all, this means basically reduction in primary resource consumption, what we should do and how we can improve the resource efficiency, how we can add higher value, the economic opportunities, renewable way. So this is the basic crux of what we are going to discuss. And I'll just quickly touch upon a few other things which are important. Green finance. You see, everything requires financing. And ESG is important. Under the ESG prism, how do we look at it? There we have just discovered ESG is the criteria through which a lot of financing happens today, and this is what we have been going around the country trying to talk about. ESG has become mandatory for 1,000 large Indian companies, but is equally important for all organizations, and that is what we are trying to look at, even MSMEs. So MSMEs also, which are the backbone of the economy, they account for 30% of India's GDP and 50% of exports, and employ the maximum. How they can get into this field? They should also be equally aware of all these, and that is why things like waste management. I will not get into too much details because of time constraint. We have time for discussion further. So we will look at it in terms of the variety of things that we do. These are at operational levels. Government has been looking at solid waste management rules, plastic waste, how to minimize single-use plastics. All of us are responsible to ensure that. Though there are a lot of issues now. The e-waste is an issue. Computers, we should not junk it in that way. Biomedical waste. Similarly, hazardous, other waste, construction waste. So the question comes to energy transition. From coal and other fossil based, how should we get to renewable? And India has done a remarkable way. Today is one of the leaders in how we have transited. And renewable energy is what should be looking at. And that is what is a great strength of India's economy. In fact, I have served in Tamil Nadu. I was Chief Secretary there. I had served in this area for a long time. We used to take with pride and say that at one point of time, Tamil Nadu had the maximum solar and wind energy installation. And we said that, look, this is very important. But then the issue was, we were a little ahead of times. How do you manage the grid if your, renewable energy is more than a certain percentage of that? So there are all kinds of issues which we are grappling in. Now India is in a position to do that, what California and Germany and all that were doing earlier. So today we are leapfrogging. This is something which we should be understanding very well, and we did it quite well. In fact, India is the only country among the G20 countries which could fulfill its obligations 9 years in advance. We could do it in 2021, what we had promised to do in 2030. So the point I'm saying is that today India as a country has managed to show, and the Solar Alliance, for example, basically we are talking about how we can look at more energy through solar, through wind energy. What is relevant, for example, here we can do more of solar energy. We can do, if there are hydro, then we can do more of hydro. So all kinds of issues are there. Now India has looked at National Green Hydrogen Mission, and that all those things are, basically look at it. I should touch upon quickly on Water Jal Jeevan Mission. This is again an important thing to make sure that safe and adequate drinking water is there, and this is again a big issue. Then I'll just quickly, list out Government of India's initiatives for climate change adaptation, which are very large, and each of them are important, and all of us in administration and all of you are somewhere involved in all these. And this is what we should, look at it in detail, and possibly, if time permitting, we can get into some of them, and some of them are like soil health cards and all kinds of issues we are looking at detail. So basically, National Action Plan on Climate Change and State Action Plan on Climate Change. This is something which Manipur, for example, would be looking at in its own way, and possibly we can discuss some of the innovations and climate resilient agriculture innovations. Similarly, there are others on agroforestry, livestock mission, blue revolution, all kinds of issues. Now time shortage doesn't let me get into it. This diagram basically sums up what I have been talking about in terms of, you know, maintenance, reuse, refurbish, recycle, minimize wastage, and biochemical feedstock. So this is productivity and green growth in detail, and all we can figure in this whole ecosystem. So the way forward, which I stop here, is promotion of bio-based resources and support for innovation on bioeconomy, recovery of valuable resources and better assessment of environmental performance, strategy on plastics, reduction of litter, and in the coastal areas, marine litter, reduction of food agriculture, you see, food, fresh fruits, horticulture crops, fisheries, there are a lot of wastage. How we can look at the cold chain, all these things are there. Then recovery, recycling of materials. Ecotourism, this is again important for how to develop tourism. We have Secretary Tourism sitting here. How we can you know, take advantage, but it should be on as an ecotourism principle, and common methodology to manage and measure. And that is how, and this is the last, this is the time, you know, last I just went through it, how India became most important country for climate future. Now India, with this year being the G20 presidency, you see, has come to the focus in the world, how India is crucial for the world. But India is the one which we are only responsible for 4% of the global cumulative emissions, only 4%. Population wise, we could go to 20-21%. So we are one of the most you know, responsible citizens in the world. Look at Europe and look at North America. They are 10 times more. Their population is 13%. And if you go by that entitlement, we can be much more polluting. But we said, nevertheless, we have responsibility and we will do that. So India as a country is taking that moral position. And G20 gives us the platform. G20, as you know, there are a lot of events happening around. And we, under that platform, we are in a position to talk. As I said, that we are the one of the achievers, the only achiever in G20 which could do all this. So the agenda is inclusive, ambitious, decisive, and action-oriented, and we all work towards the fight against climate change as a country, as one family. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rajiv Ranjan, IAS, retired Director, ICRO, National Productivity Council. Thank you so much for that very informative presentation. Now I would like to request Shri Pradeep Kumar Jha, IAS, Commissioner, Textiles, Commerce and Industry, Government of Manipur, to share his perspective on this context.
Namaskar, good morning. The chief guest of today's conclave and the Chief Secretary of Manipur, Dr. Rajesh Kumar sir, Dr. Rajiv Ranjan ji, IS retired and Director of ICRO and NPC, Sri Sandeep Kumar Nayak, Director General of the National Productivity Council, Sri Aditya Joshi, PCCF, Government of Manipur, Sri K.D. Bhardwaj ji, Director and Group Head of the Environment and Climate Action, NPC, my colleague Dr. Rangita Bali Vaikom, guests and dignitaries, and we are also informed that today in the audience we have the HODs, the faculties, the principals, and the research scholars. So this is the kind of group, the audience, which can put its mind together and have a very meaningful discussion on such a sensitive issue that we are going to discuss today. I'm really glad that NPC chose this topic and chose our state to have this kind of a discussion, a very sensitive issue. We are an ecologically sensitive state. We are a small state, we are a landlocked state. We need infrastructural development, we need growth. We need modern amenities to come to our state. As Secretary of Tourism, I also understand that we need more tourists coming to our state. But that is where we have to find the balance. And while having this discussion, as the previous speaker, Dr. Rajiv Ranjan sir, he spoke about the commitments that our country has made and the issues that are there. We have to be very careful. As a student of political science, we have heard about the North-South divide. And when I say North-South, not within the country, the developed nations and the developing nations. We should not give an impression that we have, particularly what happens is that initially the dialogue was started by the developed nations talking about the cutting down the emissions and all. So we have to be very careful, particularly a state like Manipur, which requires development. How to find that balance? Sir spoke about ecotourism. In fact, we are already working with Asian Development Bank. Initially, we were talking about the tourism project only. But now it has been decided that the primacy would be given to the Loktak Lake, the entire ecosystem restoration. And then we will be piggybacking with the ecotourism project. There have been some warning signs here in the state also. Due to the deforestation, the prolonged dry spell that we are having, the sources of water have been drying up. Last year we had a major tragedy. Almost more than 50 people lost their lives when we had a landslide. So that sets us thinking how to find that balance. And I believe that while we talk about the innovations, the development in science and technology, I think we can also find our solutions in the traditional and the local wisdom. The generations have been living here. The practices have been rooted in nature, and they have been practicing the kind of economy where we were taking from the nature as much as we required and the rest was left untouched. So that is the balance that we need to find. And the policy and the approach that we are having, that should be a balanced one. We have realized the need. In fact, recently we have banned mechanical extraction of sand and minerals from the riverbed. That is one step that we are taking to preserve our natural resources. We have to go for the right practices, the ones that will help us take to a path of development without actually creating burden on the nature and our resources for the generations that are about to come. So today's discussion, I'm very sure, in fact, we are all the practitioners, but the real wisdom would be coming from the people who are having the technical expertise, the knowledge. And we'll definitely learn from your deliberations, the experience, and obviously we'll try to put it in the policy that the state will be making. We are a state which thrives in its tourism potential. Our strengths are in handloom and textiles, the service industry, and we have realized that sustainable practices which are based in not extracting unduly from the nature is something that will be more sustainable and will take us the right path. So I'm sure that the National Productivity Council, the entire audience that is here today, particularly, it would be nice to hear from the participants, the academicians who are gathered here today. Because we have to come together and plan for the future for the state and for the country. So this is the right kind of audience, and I'm very sure that today's interaction, though brief, limited to 1/2 of the day, but would be quite meaningful, and maybe this will lead to further discussions in future where we'll have more technical sessions like this. So I would like to thank the NPC, the university. Particularly, I would like to thank the Vice Chancellor of the Manipur University Professor N. Lokendra Singh for providing us this platform to have this meaningful discussion. So I'm very sure that we all will come out as more informed persons today after this conclave. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, Shri Pradeep Kumar Jha, IAS, Commissioner Textile, Commerce and Industry, Government of Manipur. Thank you so much once again. May I have the privilege to request Professor N. Lokendra Singh, Vice Chancellor, Manipur University, to address the gathering.
Dr. Rajesh Kumar Ji, the Honorable Chief Secretary Government of Manipur, and the Chief Guest of the Conclave, Dr. Rajiv Ranjan, retired IAS and the Director of ICRO NPC, Shri Pradeep Kumar Jha, Commissioner of Textile, Commerce and Industry, respected Shri Sandeep Kumar Nayak, IAS, Director General NPC, Shri K.D. Varadwaj, Director and Group Head Environment and Climate Action, Dr. Rajiv Ranjan, Shri A.K. Joshi, PCCF and the IHOFF Government of Manipur, Dr. Rangita Bali Waikhom, Director of University and Higher Education, Professor Chanbabu, learned deans of the university, learned heads, learned principals of the different affiliated colleges, learned delegates, learned faculties, friends from the media and their students. As the Vice Chancellor of the university, I consider this conclave as a unique opportunity of having a very purposeful and a very crucial opportunity to have interactions among our academics, scholars, policy planners, and administrators on the question of sustainability, productivity, and the green growth. In the last few decades, Manipur University, various departments in the university have been engaged in active research program in different departments, particularly in the Department of Life Sciences, in anthropology, in history, in political science, in chemistry, biochemistry, and the thrust area of these researches in the last 25 years have been very region specific. Most of the themes of research are confined on region specific issues of biodiversity, on region specific issues of agricultural changes, on region specific issues of changing trends of internal and external threat, on questions of ethnic conflict, on questions of new identity formations, on questions of sports and a sports movement, and also on questions of fine and performing arts. Many of our faculties and many of our research scholars have done excellent work in some of these areas. And on issues of the complex processes of social and economic change that the border state has been experiencing in the last 4 or 5 decades. There have been publications on the evolution and the growth of the middle class, and the middle class has been pulling the engine of social change in the state of Manipur and the neighboring states. Good number of studies have been there on the impact of, say, border trade against the background of the great social and economic transformations which Manipur had experienced during the First World War, say Second World War. Second World War, in fact, for about 6-7 years in between 1940 and 1946-47, the state of Manipur had been a place where there were tremendous investment. There were investment of, say, global capital. Say, Manipur being the center of conflict between the imperial, say, Japanese army and the Anglo-Allied force. The fight, the struggle for dominance in the battles in Imphal and Kohima had been one of the greatest and important issues of the global leaders. And Manipur had been a place where a large number of global leaders had visited. Manipur, which was earlier a very sleepy princely state, was transformed in a very short period of time in the 1940s into a place of, great say, global conflict, attracting attention for development in the field of infrastructure. You'll be surprised to know that Manipur had during those days as many as 5 or 6 airfields. The road, this Tidim road, was constructed by the Anglo-Allied forces with experts coming from Oxford and Cambridge to go to Myanmar. This road from Imphal to, say, Cabo Valley, although it was a traditional road, it was transformed into a usable kind of a road using the tea garden laborers and a good number of Indian, say, workers. And it was against that background that the Manipuri middle class was created, and the offshoot of that middle class was the social base from which emanated the contemporary socio-political leaders of the state. After that, when Manipur became, a say union territory, till the the coming of the say economic modernization and the globalization, Manipur had been at the limbo, and with economic modernization and the liberalization, and of course the subsequent opening of the Act East policy and the border trade, Manipur had again begun to appear in the national and the international scenario. Sports persons, cultural personalities, they began actively participating in the national and international events. Entrepreneurs, business people from the state, all of a sudden became very active. They started participating in the modern, say, economic and industrial processes, and that is the basis of what we see the contemporary Manipur. Border trade used to be a very important source of livelihood for a good number of people in the state. The border town of say More had begun to be transformed into some of the say border towns like say Muse and Really, but because of the unfortunate political developments in the neighboring country, things again have say retreated, and it is in this kind of a situation that this conclave is being held in our university, and I consider this conclave as a great opportunity for our faculties, our scholars, to dwell extensively and give a serious thought on how to steer the part of social and economic change in this border state. So with this a few words, I would like to thank the authorities of the National Productivity Council and the state government for taking up this initiative so that our colleagues in different departments can very closely interact with the experts here. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, respected Vice Chancellor, Manipur University, Professor N. Lokendra Singh, for sharing your profound knowledge with us. Thank you so much once again. May I now request Shri A.K. Joshi, IFS, Principal Chief Conservator of Forests and Head of Forest Force, Government of Manipur, to share his perspective on this context.
Khurum Jari, respected Chief Secretary, Dr. Rajesh Kumar, Sri Sandeep Kumar Nayak, Director General of NPC, Professor N. Lokendra Singh, the Vice Chancellor of the Manipur University, Dr. Rajiv Ranjan, IAS retired, who is looking after now Director ICRO NPC, my colleague Dr. Mr. P.K. Jha, Commissioner Textiles and Tourism, then Shri K.D. Bhardwaj, who's in the dais, Dr. Rangita Bali. What I'm going to say has already been touched upon in the first presentation, but I have penned down a few thoughts which I'll share with you. So, indeed, it's a pleasure to be here today, and I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity of sharing my thoughts on a subject which is, I'm quite passionate about. And not only passionate, what I would say is that whatever has we know, I think whatever I'm going to say, you already know about it. Only thing is, I will just try to kind of focus on certain things, and I would like, my tone would be rather strident, rather loud, because I want this message to go across everywhere. And as I know that all of you are the influencers, the motivators, and the, who can motivate the younger generation, this message has to go across. So, as you all are aware, our high carbon and resource intensive economic models have contributed towards unsustainable growth. And this has led to climate change, this has led to warming of the planet, this has led to destruction of our natural resources and biodiversity. This has also led to increased pollution in the air, in land, sea, everywhere. And this is undermining the foundation of our very existence. And in addition, there is increasing inequality in the society. And often it is seen that the ones with the least access to the benefits of human development, they are the ones who suffer the most from its unwelcome side effects. So before I talk about productivity and green growth and how we can include these in our development paradigms, we must understand the depth of the three planetary crises that we face today. Now there are three major planetary crises that we are facing today. The first is climate change, and you have already heard that the concentrations of the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere are higher than at any time in the past 800,000 years. And we can all see the consequences. We have growing storms, we have summer heat waves, we have forest fires. All of you must be seeing forest fires, in the evening when you see across, wherever you see, we have these forest fires. We have droughts, then we have flash floods, we have erratic weather patterns, there's higher temperatures, the precipitation patterns have changed, there's no winter rain in Manipur this time. According to the Mauna Loa Observatory in Hawaii, the monthly average concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere has exceeded 410 parts per million. Now, at one point of time when we were discussing Kyoto Protocol, the 400 ppm was considered threshold, and we have already exceeded it. So we are now at 410 ppm, and this is into 2020. And of course, there is enough evidence that we are likely to see a crisis in the near future. Warming oceans, melting ice. If there's a kind of study that if this temperature increases by 2 degrees centigrade, the water level in the oceans will rise by about 56 centimeters, which is half a meter. And many of the low-lying states would be submerged. So it is a crisis. Then the permafrost is disappearing. That is releasing methane into the atmosphere, which again is a more harmful gas than CO2. It has more effect on the warming. Then deforestation, forest degradation, which we also are facing in our state, which is depriving us of the carbon sinks, because forests act as the carbon sink and store carbon. When we have these deforestation and degradation, all the carbon, this CO2 is released, and the storage is lost. So we are having a cascading effect that will send the global temperatures, we don't know where. Now the Paris Agreement, the goal, which was mentioned earlier, is to have the global average temperature much below 2 degrees centigrade, above the pre-industrial levels, and it says pursuing efforts to 1.5 degrees centigrade. So 1.5 degrees centigrade is the ideal target. But at this stage, currently, we have already, we have the temperatures have increased by 1.1 degrees centigrade. So the window is very short now, and even the carbon budgets to achieve the Paris Agreement temperature goals are very small, and they're rapidly being depleted. The second crisis that we are facing is of nature and biodiversity loss. The increasing anthropogenic activities, what humans have done to our nature and biodiversity and all our natural resources, that has had a tremendous impact on the biodiversity. And so many species are being lost, which some of them are yet to be discovered, but they are being lost. Again, if we see, say, 2 degrees centigrade, it will perhaps lead to, say, at least 20% of the insect species disappearing, and similarly other species also. So there's tremendous amount of biodiversity loss if we do not take concrete steps immediately. Regarding forest, an estimated 21 million hectares is the total annual forest loss, out of which 4.3 million hectares is in the tropical primary forests. These tropical primary forests like Amazon and these countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, even say Ecuador and all those places. So this is the annual loss. This is the extent to which this loss is there, and it is mainly due to agriculture, livestock, infrastructure development, human need, habitation, all these things. And of course livelihood also, because many people are depending on these forests. They're cutting down the wood, cutting down the forest for their livelihood. Now, as the ecosystems are increasingly degraded, we will face an ever-increasing reduction in the flow of ecosystem services, which these ecosystem services were providing to us. You must, I think most of you would be aware of the paper, landmark paper of Costanza et al. In 1997. It was published in Nature, in which the value of the ecosystem services was given, some kind of rough estimate was given. That was $33 trillion at that time. So anyway, the third crisis that I want to talk about is the pollution and the waste generation. So we are all aware of the levels of pollution, whether air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution, all kinds of pollution. And if those of us, our guests who are coming from Delhi, would vouch for it, the terrible winter air in Delhi. In fact, I went to Delhi sometime in January, and I fell sick because I was, breathing Imphal air is much better. And when I went to Delhi, I had a throat infection, and I was ill for about a week. But and of course also the increasing amount of waste that is being generated. As per the report by the annual report of solid waste management by the CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board, the total quantity of solid waste generated in the country is 1,60,038 tons per day, which is huge. And out of which 1,52,749 is collected with a collection efficiency of 95%. But out of this, only 79,000 is treated, 29,000 is landfilled, and 50,655 tons per day, which is 31.7% of the total waste generated, remains unaccounted. So it is still there somewhere. So going forward, if we talk of productivity and green growth, we have to understand these things, and we have to understand that things must change. We have to change. We have to change the way of thinking, change of way of development. And it is high time that all of us learn to operate in harmony with nature and move towards productivity and green growth, which are essentially, essential interlinked paradigms of modern governance. So let me come to the green growth first. Now, in fact, the focus of green growth strategies is to ensure that nature resources can deliver their full economic potential on a sustainable basis including the provision of critical ecosystem services, which are essential to our well-being, and promoting a resilient biodiversity, and which are needed to support human welfare. So in other words, green growth entails promoting economic growth and development while ensuring that natural resources continue to provide the environmental services on which human well-being depends on. There are three main pillars of green growth: economy, ecology, and equity. So economy, ecology, and equity. Equity can also be called a social development, what my colleague was mentioning. Now, green growth is actually not a replacement of the sustainable development paradigm. Rather, in fact, it is it provides a practical and flexible approach for achieving concrete, measurable progress across the economic and environmental pillars, while taking into account the social consequences also of greening the growth dynamic of economies. It was mentioned about COP26. COP26 adopted the Glasgow Climate Pact as part of efforts of limit to the global temperature to 2 degrees and ideally to 1.5 degrees centigrade. While it focused on mitigating emissions and adaptation to climate change, and financing and collaboration, the COP27 that was held in Sharm el-Sheikh recently reaffirmed the commitments to limit the temperature, and it went a step further through an agreement to provide loss and damage funding to countries facing adverse impacts of climate change. So this is as per the COP27 which was recently held. So the new investment and new development paradigms have to follow these principles of sustained green growth, and at the same time give rise to new economic opportunities. It must be remembered that natural resources and assets are not infinitely substitutable, and green growth policies must take account of that. India has assumed G20 presidency in 2023 with the motto, "One Earth, One Family, One Future," emphasizing the value of all life forms. And it was in fact mentioned in the previous presentation also that this is in synergy with the government's initiative known as the Mission Lifestyle for Environment, LIFE. This is to creating a cleaner, greener, bluer future. The concept of LIFE was introduced by Honorable Prime Minister, our Prime Minister, at COP26 at Glasgow on 1st November 2021. It was inaugurated on 5th June 2022, a World Environment Day, where the Honorable Prime Minister had, a seminar kind of thing, a webinar kind of thing with the top leading leaders at the global level, and then there was a call for papers for sending ideas, and formally this was launched in October 2022 in Gujarat. Now, Lifestyle for Environment is a campaign and mass movement for environment conscious lifestyles and to reduce one's carbon footprint. It promotes the concept of that the world needs mindful and deliberate utilization rather than mindless and destructive consumption. So this is what the shift is, deliberate utilization, not consumption. And again, it focuses on three main pillars: focus on individual behaviors, what we can do to change our lifestyles, how we can leverage the local cultures, and how a global partnership can be formed on this lifestyle. So these are the three main pillars of life. And simple lifestyle changes by all and leveraging the strength of social networks can go a long way in bringing some change in this scenario. The Honorable Prime Minister has also outlined three pillars for green growth and energy transmission. First, increasing the production of renewable energy. Second, reducing the use of fossil fuel in the economy. And finally, rapidly moving towards a gas-based economy in the country. The Prime Minister's announcement in the Glasgow summit, where the Panch Amrit were mentioned. Just to recap what the Prime Minister had announced in Glasgow, the non-fossil energy capacity to be reduced to 500 gigawatt by 2030, 50% of energy requirements till 2030 with renewable energy. Then carbon emission, India to reduce its projected carbon emissions by 1 billion tons by 2030, reduce carbon intensity of its economy by 45% by 2030, and to become net zero emitter by 2070. These were the targets which India had voluntarily, presented before the international forum. Now, the green productivity concept provides industry a framework for simultaneous improvement of productivity, quality, and profitability with the least environmental impact. And then green growth policies must become an integral part of the structural reforms needed to foster strong, more sustainable and inclusive growth. And this can be done by this, the following: enhancing productivity by creating incentives for greater efficiency in the use of natural resources, reducing waste and energy consumption, unlocking opportunities for innovation and value creation, and allocating resources to the highest value use. Then boosting investor confidence through greater predictability in how governments deal with major environmental issues. Opening new markets by stimulating demand for green goods, services, and technologies. Contribute to fiscal consolidation by mobilizing revenues through green taxes and through the elimination of environmentally harmful subsidies. These measures can also help to generate or free up resources for anti-poverty programs, because we talked of equity, so some of these funds can be used for these anti-poverty programs. And of course, we have seen the initiatives of the government in Jal Jeevan Mission and the others, which are again pro-poor investments. And last, reducing risks of negative shocks to growth due to resource bottlenecks, as well as damaging and potentially irreversible environmental impacts. So these are some of the ways in which we can, have these structural reforms and have green growth into the paradigm of growth and development. Green growth strategies should also recognize that focusing on GDP as a main resource, main measure of economic progress, which generally overlooks the contribution of natural resources to wealth, health, and well-being. So then, therefore, there is a need to rely on a broader range of measures, which can perhaps, take into account these environmental concerns also. So the GDP also needs to be, relooked at, and in fact, there are talks of a green GDP and eco GDP, and these are some concepts which have been, been around. So in India, in our own state, the government understands that there is no one size fits all, and therefore greening the growth path of a state economy depends on the policy and institutional settings, the level of development, the social structures, the resource endowments, and particular environmental pressure points. We face different challenges and constraints, but in all cases, green growth strategies need to go together with the main pillars of action to promote social equity, more intensive human capital investment, inclusive employment protection, well-designed tax, transfer, redistribution policies, and environmental friendly policies and programs. For the state of Manipur also, I think our respected Chief Secretary would be mentioning about the initiatives that we are taking. But let me just say that we are also identifying the promising areas in which the green growth objectives can be achieved in our policies, in our regulations, in the technology transfer, in financing, new markets, and innovative opportunities. And that could help the state to have more environment friendly and to promote green growth in the state. Strategies for greener growth in our state need to be tailored to fit our specific regional circumstances, because we, Manipur being a it has its own requirements that have to be taken into consideration whenever we have these kind of interventions. And we need to carefully consider how to manage any potential trade-offs and best exploit the synergies between green growth and poverty reduction. So given the importance of natural resources and assets in a low-income state, the green growth policies can reduce vulnerability to environmental risks and increase the livelihood security of the poor. Green growth must be implemented in a way that contributes to poverty eradication, employment opportunities, strong and sustainable economy, and also take care of the environment. So I conclude here that by saying that any economy today across the world, there's a combined role of green productivity growth, economic globalization, eco-innovation in achieving ecological sustainability. Climate change is the paramount concern of everyone, all governments and everyone in the planet. The macroeconomic factors such as green growth and economic globalization have to play an integral role in achieving ecological sustainability in the presence of eco-innovation. And all these interlinked variables such as the presence of human capital, financial development, GDP, and the ecological footprint per capita has to be studied and considered by all the policymakers. So I'll end here. Thank you. It has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, respected Principal Chief Conservator of Forest and Head of Forest Force, Government of Manipur, Shri A.K. Joshi, IFS, for that hypothetical ideas of economic growth that is environmentally sustainable. May I now have the privilege to request Director General NPC, S.A. Sandeep Kumar Nayak, IAS, to address the gathering.
Good afternoon. It's indeed a great privilege to speak to the distinguished gathering here in one of the most premier universities of our country and also in the state capital of Manipur. Dr. Rajesh Kumar, the Chief Secretary of the Government of Manipur and today's chief guest, Professor Lokendra Singh, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Manipur University, other dignitaries on the dais, the distinguished members of the faculty, the research students, Dr. Rangita Ali Vaikom, Professor W. Chandrababu Singh, Sri Amitabh Rai ji, and others who are off the dais. We are really running behind our schedule, so I'll not dwell upon things which have been already spoken here, but I'll just mention about the broader vision which have been outlined by Honorable Prime Minister and also articulated by many of the speakers before me. The Panchtantra and the net zero targets for our country by 2070. I suggest to translate those vision into action. We have to make a first step. I suggest, since the Chief Secretary of the Government of Manipur, the Secretary Industry, Tourism, and the Vice Chancellor, along with the distinguished members of the faculty, are here. The National Productivity Council is an apex body. It is more known for its diversified training deliveries that it does, but also it is into the consulting activities across sectors in a big way. Environment and sustainable action activities consulting by the National Productivity Council, which is under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, has been doing this activity since early 90s. So based on our inner core strength, which we have more than 160 professionals on our regular employment, and in addition to that, the project-based consultants we do. We are into the environmental sustainability and social governance modes to comply with the directions of different regulators in a big way. We are also working in the carbon neutrality and net zero aspects. I was just mentioning to Professor Lokendra Singh, the Vice Chancellor, the reality of the action is on the ground, and I suggest, because we have diverse disciplines, the deans from different departments are in this campus, in this university. We work across, we are not only working in the scientific or engineering departments, we work across. We work with humanities and social sciences and management studies departments in a big way, just for sustainability. Sustainability, initially we always think that it is a science, engineering, energy. It is not. It's a total holistic concept, as you know, and also my predecessors in this dais, they have mentioned. And the Prime Minister has spoken about the life. So as a small step, may I suggest to the Government of Manipur and also the university authorities here that perhaps we could start a small practical project on carbon neutrality to start with, so that we learn together how it can be translated into action, the net zero, the green growth, and all those things. So let us have a tripartite kind of project. Maybe we take up Loktak, the pride of tourist destination heritage of the state. Maybe we look at Loktak as a target, or we look at even the university campus as a carbon neutral place, as an objective. We could start working together. We'll be very happy to collaborate with the Manipur University and also with the Government of Manipur. I understand there will be financial constraints within different verticals, but if we make up our mind that we'll work together, the faculty, the research scholars here, the Government of Manipur professionals, and also the NPC professionals, I do not think, as the Honorable Prime Minister says, the intention is more important than the money. The money will always come through. So let us decide, and if you feel together it is all right, maybe we could join hands, and through a tripartite mode we can start work. Thank you very much, and it is indeed a great pleasure and great privilege to come to Manipur for the first time in my life, and also to this very important campus in the capital, and I'm really privileged to be here. Thank you very much. Wish you all the best. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you so much, respected Director General NPC S.A. Sandeep Kumar Nayak, IAS. Thank you so much for your profound suggestion. We're looking forward. Thank you so much. And may I now have the privilege to request our respected Chief Guest, respected Chief Secretary, Government of Manipur, Dr. Rajesh Kumar, IAS, to address the gathering.
Good afternoon. Dr. Rajiv Ranjan, my senior and former Chief Secretary, Tamil Nadu, Director, ICRO, NPC. My brother and batchmate, Shri Sandeep Nayak, Director General, NPC. My colleague, Shri Pradeep Kumar Jha, esteemed Vice Chancellor, Shri N. Lokendra Singh Ji, and my dear friend, Shri A.K. Joshi, PCCF and Head of Forest Department, and Shri K.D. Bhardwaj, Director and Group Head, Environment and Climate Action, NPC, Dr. Chand Babu Singh, my friend R.K. Nimai Singh, he is waking up now. And I won't forget my staff officer who is here, Rohit. It's always like a shadow with me, and Dr. Rangita Wali Vaikom, the director of UHE. I do not know from where to begin and where to end, and Sandeep says time has passed. 24 minutes late I have come here, and you have given me 20 minutes. And if I heard correctly, you suggested that I should dwell upon what exactly could be done in the context of Manipur. In fact, I'm quite delighted to be here. I think it's my first, and I'm afraid maybe the last appearance in Manipur University also, unless university invites me in some capacity. A lot has been discussed, and in fact, I will begin with the presentation of Dr. Rajiv Ranjan. He had set up the context very, very well. Truly lived up to the topic, sir, and our appreciation to how you set up the context and the inputs given by young colleague Pradeep Jha and thereafter Dr. Joshi and Dr. Lokendra. Not much is left for me to speak, but since I have been invited in the university, let me begin with this hall. We are discussing about sustainability, productivity, green growth. The two air conditioners are working at 26, and even this one is working 26. You have set up the right temperature. Only 3 fans are working, so you are using only that much of power which is required to circulate air and keep the temperature right. That's a good thing. I like it. I saw some LED bulbs replacing CFR, but rest can be replaced. That is how we start reducing carbon emission slowly and slowly. Now, there is a little bit of conflict when we start saying that a highway development, right, or some other infrastructure, some industry, it will add to the global heating phenomena. But highways, good highways also reduce emission and reduce transport, reduce consumption of fossil fuel. So if you see in the context of Manipur, the government under the Honorable Chief Minister Shri N. Biren Singh Ji has taken up with NHIDCL, and I'm very proud to say the amount of project Manipur has got is much more than any northeastern state, including bigger states like Arunachal and Assam. Our NH37, NH102, our new road which is coming from Imphal, Tamenglong, Haflong, from Imphal, Ukhrul, Jasami, will all make the road travel very smooth. In the context, the railways will also ease the travel. Our new airport which is coming also will be good. The infrastructure itself, if it is built in the right manner with the objective to ease the movement of people for transportation, will reduce carbon emission and add to sustainable development. Adit Joshi was mentioning that I may touch upon the project which state government is taking up. The government is quite focused in a couple of things. As we are aware, yesterday, I think all the honorable MLAs resolved to be the warriors against war against drug. That's a very good development. Now, if we see that forests in Manipur have diminished. When we came to Manipur in 1989, we were hardly using fan in June. Now we are using air conditioners in night also, and around 9 months in a year, or 8 months in a year. So there is a heating, there is a change of climate. If you see the picture of Singda Dam when it was commissioned, and when you see it today, all the trees have disappeared. If you go to Cycle side, trees have disappeared. If you go to Chuachandpur side, the trees have disappeared. If you take a chopper, go to Kamjong, half the forests are denuded. There is an urgency that we take up regeneration of forest. We take up activities which are not causing degradation of forests or cutting of trees. The economic activities which are sustainable. I began saying with war on drugs because it's very, very important that now government is thinking of giving alternate livelihood source to them. That's also part of sustainability. The government has identified initially 10,000 farmers with 1 hectare each, and we have gone to donor ministry to give them horticulture crops so that we can wean them away from poppy cultivation. That's a good step, but that's a small step, not so small also. Hopefully, I think Ministry of Donors should agree with us and sanction that project. But what we have done between me and the PCCF and the direction of Honorable Chief Minister, 2 projects have been taken up for the climate and sustainability and livelihood. One was a small KFW project which Forest Department started implementing to 4 river basins, Aditya. 4. Now we have scaled it up, they are going to increase it, and the whole envelope will be expanded. It's a German funding agency, government agency. A bigger project, the Japanese government is funding through JICA. We have got the DPRs approved very recently. It's cost about 1,300 to 1,400 crores for perhaps implementation 5 plus 5 plus 5, 15 years of sustained afforestation, livelihood, shifting from jhum to terrace cultivation, giving up poppy cultivation, going for horticulture crop, bamboo plantation, bamboo processing industry. Now, the government is so focused on development and saving climate, at the same time generating employment. The Honorable Chief Minister's Sub-Divisional Development Mission, where he has got one Prabhari officer each sub-division with the objective to give house to every family and one job per family in this version 2 of his government in the next 5 years. And this JICA project and the KFW Enhance will be one of the prime movers of creating sustainability, employment, housing, and also forest and climate conservation and preservation. The water crisis we all know. I'm coming from forest to the water. The Minister PhD urged upon people to consume half water. We are having shortage of water. The good thing which has happened with Jal Jeevan Mission and the NDB funded project, we are creating distribution network, Har Ghar Nal, and also water reservoir, water treatment plant. What I think perhaps has been missed out or not consciously felt that time, where is the source of water? You can have water treatment plant, you can have water reservoirs, you can have distribution network, you can have Har Ghar Nal, but there's no water behind that. In that context, again under direction of Chief Minister, we are working to enlarge the new development bank funding. I think within 2 days' time, entire Manipur, hill and valley, we are trying to propose to Ministry of Finance for their screening committee clearance to provide water source augmentation. One example I can give, recently we got water from Thobal Dam coming to Imphal East and other places. It has been commissioned now. That 45 MLD will come. But Ijai River, if we lift through some mechanism the water, bring through either railway tunnel, along the railway tunnel, it may bring about 110 MLD, more than twice of what will come from Thobal Dam. Plus, if Loktak project is partially decommissioned and the water is used for irrigation and drinking purpose, it will take care of drinking water supply of Imphal West, Imphal East and Bishnupur in 50 years time next. Why I am saying 50 years? Because as we know the country's population will stabilize, so be of the population of Manipur. So if you can plan for Manipur in 2047 as per our vision document which we released recently, and for a population of 50 lakh, you can say 50 for 2050. Because your population will never go beyond 50 lakhs till 2050. I think you have planned for the next generation also. It will go up to 2100 AD minimum, whatever we are creating now. So this water supply, if we take in toto, whether it's Ukhrul or Churachan from Koga Dam or from Loktak or from Ijai River and bringing from Thobal Dam and looking at other districts also, that will be a comprehensive lasting solution. It will be also a green solution. Linked to the water comes our sewerage project. We had a small sewerage project. Then through NDB, we have very recently awarded work in 1 day for entire Imphal municipal area sewerage phase 2, because liquid waste management also is very, very important. At that time, Greater Imphal was not notified. Now, Greater Imphal we are putting as a phase 3 project. I'm taking time and mentioning these things because you should know how the government is working toward actual sustained development and green growth as well as the economic growth of the state. This project also, in principle, the NDB representative had agreed, like water source supply along with sewerage expansion, because our government has also taken up a very unique project which has been agreed by Ministry of Finance, a project to provide cement concrete road with concrete drain, where the drain is part of the road. It's like a Tokyo city. No city in India has got an integrated project of this kind, cleared in principle, and I think very soon by June, we should be in a position to award the contracts. So when you put the Laikai to the other small roads to the district road to, you come to the highways and put a concrete road and concrete drain and invest 3,200 crore rupees, it's the initial cost. And then for phase 3 sewerage, you start cutting the road, it will be a crime. Now these roads are again disaster resilient. Even in earthquake, the cement concrete will not fold and break. Now that is the model of sustainable development, where you have got drinking water network, drinking water source supply, you have got sewerage, you have got cooking gas going through the pipes, not through the cylinder in the house, you have the drains becoming part of the road. Along with that, you will have complete proper LED street lighting. That model of governance that the government should look into, and when you do this kind of planned development and planned approach is there in the government governance, I think we can also achieve green growth and sustainable development. Now, sustainable development also includes creating source of income and livelihood. Our boys and girls, the next generation, the present generation, they are looking for jobs. Government cannot be the sole provider of job. So Loktak Lake Eco-Tourism Project, because I'm sitting in a galaxy of all academicians and teachers and faculties and college principals, you can take it further and tell the people how they should join hands and allow us to go ahead with the development plans. Resisting for the sake of resisting some NGO somewhere, I think it's not the right thing to do. This project thinks of making a lakefront like any international city like Lake Geneva or Dal Lake or Ooty Lake, right from Fubala up to Sandra, 5.5 kilometers, will be absolutely eco-friendly, green kind of development. When we had started talking to Asian Development Bank, it came to our knowledge and their advice that lake conservation itself is very, very important. The 4 major rivers plus other tributaries, about more than 20 rivers draining to Loktak. Now a very comprehensive plan is being developed to conserve the lake, starting for river basin treatment to sewage, sullage, pollution treatment, managing Fumdis, and also sustainable growth, not touching the fishermen, creating job for them, enhancing their livelihood, enhancing their income also. So Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas principle, this project is conceived. It will become a global model. ADB is very clear that we want to create a unique global model, take it out of Montreux Convention, and also make a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve. Our cabinet in principle has cleared it. If it is made a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve, haphazard activity in lake will not take place, but economic activity along with sustained conservation of lake will continue. This is a game-changing project for the state. It will create certainly 20,000-30,000 jobs, save the mother Loktak for decades to come, become a global model for other countries to replicate. We are working on that. Manipur is small, but our ambition is high, and it's not ambition. Whichever projects I have mentioned have been sanctioned or approved or getting implemented. Nothing in air. This Loktak will happen. We need support of each and every one of you when you go back to colleges, principals, sensitize the people. Some people will come of fishermen, Loktak, people are taking out job. I think those kind of objections, because ADB is very conscious about this economic and social impact study. Our ring road also, we have just got almost clearance. That's happening. So government is moving forward. My request is that please organize this kind of work. The VC was whispering to me, our quarterly interval in the university, educate your students, the college teachers and principals can go back, educate students, teach them in a manner where they get job in the sectors where government is focusing. I will not take much time, but one sector where government is going to focus very intensely is horticulture, handloom and handicraft, which is another source of Manipur revenue, employment and strength. And when Sandeep mentioned about a unique project to be taken as a green project, the Manipur IT Special Economic Zone project, which World Bank is funding, and we are in the process of almost getting the loan negotiation over. That can be one of the green projects, or as he said, the campus of Manipur University. I won't take much time because I have come into this space a little late, 24 minutes late, so I think I should not take much more time. I wish Manipur a very good future, and I wish all these projects are translated into reality with objective of sustainable development and green approach. my best wishes to everyone in the state, because this is a place of education, and I want to convey to one and all that the government is with the people. The Chief Minister is very, very development focused, and he wants to take everyone together. The last sentence I'll mention about our drive to preserve the protected forests and reserve forests. The government will continue to do that, because preserving those forests is very, very important for survival of Manipur as a state itself. My best wishes and good luck to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, respected Chief Secretary. We are indeed charmed by your fluency, and thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and ideas in the context of Manipur on green and sustainable growth. Thank you so much once again. May I now invite Shri K.D. Bhardwaj, Director and Group Head, Environment and Climate Action, NPC, for the thematic presentation.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Guest and the Honorable dignitaries on dais. Good afternoon to all of you, and with your permission I would straight away move to the presentation because time is short, and I also welcome all the participants to this conclave on productivity and green growth. Let me start with my presentation. I will be quick because time available is only 20 minutes. So let me first talk to you briefly about National Productivity Council, which was set up in 1958 under the Ministry of Industry then, which has become now Ministry of Commerce and Industry. And our objective was to promote productivity in industry, service and agriculture sectors for a socio-economically stronger India through productivity enhancement, which is mostly resource efficiency, achieving higher production with lesser inputs, giving higher performance with lesser efforts, achieving higher customer satisfaction with more effectiveness. Honorable Minister of Commerce Industry is our President of our Governing Council, and Honorable Secretary DPIIT is our Chairman of our governing body. So we are part of DPIIT under that, and we also share a vibrant relationship with the international organizations such as Asian Productivity Organization, which is based in Tokyo, and which also coordinates with 20 similar NPCs in different countries: Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Mongolia, Indonesia. So all these countries have NPCs. Even Japan has today NPC. It is called Japan Productivity Centers. Though Japan is the most productive country as of today, still Japan Productivity Center is existing today since 1956. We came into existence in 1958. So we work out closely to promote productivity not only in India but also in the Asia Pacific region through APO. We, as our DG already mentioned, that NPC has various verticals, so all solutions can come under one roof. We are into environment and climate change, energy efficiency, industrial engineering, which is the basis foundation of promoting productivity, agriculture productivity, organizational improvement, development, IT applications, project formulation, monitoring and evaluation, and of course recruitment solutions. So all the different areas we cover, your different verticals throughout the country, with 12 different offices located in the country in different regions, headquartered in Delhi, with almost 160 permanent engineers, researchers, economists, sociologists working with the NPC, providing all the solutions to the industry, service and agriculture sector. And we also have a stronger network with local productivity councils. Apart from the NPC, we have LPCs, local productivity council. Like in Northeast, we have Assam Productivity Council. So they work in Northeast region. So like this, we have a stronger network with LPCs. So this 28 LPCs, 13 our offices, 41 entities in the country promoting productivity and helping different organizations throughout the country to promote productivity. We are a preeminent organization of Government of India. As a consultancy firm, we do consultancy, capacity building and research. So all the three areas we work, and we get a lot of work on directly from the governments on nomination basis. We don't have to compete. We do that also, but not necessarily. Total solutions under one roof. Focused professionals as consultants. Since 58, we have trained, and actually so many professionals joined NPC, left and joined industries. So that continues. Time-bound delivery track record with the studies we take up, projects we take up. So we are complete them in time. So we provide services to from top to bottom level, from the central government to state government, ULBs, corporates to MSME. So that's our length and breadth of our services. Multidisciplinary expertise. Why I'm emphasizing all these things is that so far you heard so many speakers and they talk about different areas under green growth. Green growth requires all the different subject areas, all the solutions under one roof, and that NPC has been providing. Capability to take up large-scale surveys and pan-India level projects in the country because we have offices and LPCs. Third-party assessment, our governing body is neutral. Our governing body, which is the topmost supreme body of council, which consists of government, labor unions, and also employers, that is industry associations. So they rule NPC. So that's why we are neutral. And that's why we are the best for third-party assessment and audit services. And of course, through APO, we have international expertise, even for the solutions which require in the state of Manipur, sir. If you require any expert from outside Japan, Australia, America, NPC can get expert for you to give you advice services without any cost to you, at the cost of APO. So any area where you require expert support for giving advice to you, any difficulty you face, NPC can any country at the cost of APO to just provide advisory services and expert services to your state, sir. NPC achievements since 58, more than 7,500, now almost 8,000 assignments, projects we have completed in different areas, including energy, environment, manpower, economic surveys, trained more than 1.5 million actually now professionals in different areas, trained boiler operators, certified energy managers and auditors, 10,000 professionals in waste management. So all these people whom we have trained, build their capacity, are now serving industry, serving governments, serving institutions. We are also into lean management, where we have helped more than 2,000 industries in different clusters throughout the country. Lean is application of a productivity tool. It's a kind of very strong productivity tool to improve productivity, make savings, and save time. Energy improvement in industries, more than 500 industries, we have demonstrated energy improvement. And of course, develops waste minimization circles, where we developed the concept to reduce, recycle, reuse. So all this have been demonstrated on the ground by NPC, and helped government for formulation of guidelines for various sectors, and also developed environmental management framework for different industries. So we are very strong in this area. And now let me come back to, I think this was discussed in the earlier session, what is productivity? Productivity has already been explained. It is not only just output divided by input. It has two dimensions, qualitative and quantitative. When you say qualitative, you have to achieve higher customer satisfaction. When you say quantitative, you have to achieve higher output. So with both dimensions, and productivity is, actually it's a mindset, it's a way of working, it's a culture. It's not just mathematical calculation, but of course when you have to work out, when you have to calculate the productivity, you need figures, but it's a way of working, and that is important to understand. Just let me ask you one simple question at this stage, so that you will, with this simple question, you will understand what is productivity. Very simple question I am going to ask you now. What is 100 minus 1? When it comes to productivity, 100 minus 1 is 0, because one defect, one mistake will make your customer unhappy. So if you want to achieve highest level of productivity, you are not allowed to have even one defect or one mistake. And that's what the question asked by Japanese expert. To understand concept of productivity, apart from the mathematics, and to reach that level, it's a marathon race to achieve highest level of productivity. So it's a never-ending marathon. You have to keep improving every day to making tomorrow better than today. So productivity is above all a state of mindset. And why? And it is very important to achieve green growth, because productivity play a key role, because it helps you to save resources. That's why it plays a key role in order to achieve green growth. So again, when it comes to industry, when you have to see what is productivity, output divided by inputs, so you have to minimize raw materials, you have to minimize energy consumption, you have to minimize role of workers, and achieve highest amount of output in terms of production services to become productive, to achieve high level of productivity. And productivity is basically value addition. You get raw materials, how much value you add, and at what value you sell your product. So this highest amount of value addition is productivity, because, and that is why comes into picture technologies and innovation. How much value addition you do to create wealth. So productivity leads to, of course, development, high amount of wealth creation, but productivity also saves resources, because it's not only just achieving higher output, but also minimizing inputs. And that is explained here in different levelers. The 4 levers here, productive levers for output: enhance sales revenue, increase output per unit cost of production, that is for the output side. Input side, optimize labor utilization, optimize capital utilization to achieve higher level of productivity. So you can use any of this lever to improve productivity. And of course, it was explained that ultimately when it comes to when you become or your private consumption, your gross investment, everything further leads to GDP. With higher productivity, you achieve higher GDP. So now in India, when we compare to different countries, other countries, Indian worker, I mean worker means average, I am working out here, all the employed people in India, if you take average contribution to our GDP, we are able to make $15,000 contribution per worker, highest level to lower level, just averaging. Now look at the Singapore figure, $150,000 in Singapore per worker, 10 times more productive. Look at this figure, USA 100,000, Europe 80,000. So our worker, and when I say worker means highest level employee to the lowest level employee, average throughout the country, contribution to GDP. So per worker GDP, we are quite low. So there is much more need for us to develop, to achieve that highest level, to reach that developed country level. And that means how many resources we are going to require. And we are aiming for that. We are aiming to become developed. So more resources, so requirement for more green growth. You can't continue to develop the way we are developing now, because otherwise no end. You have already seen, already explained earlier speakers here what is happening in the state of Manipur already. You are feeling the impact of environment and climate change. But we have developed. So green growth is the only way to reach that highest amount of GDP, highest contribution to GDP without affecting environment. So that, I mean, there are different routes to achieve highest level of productivity. That is explained here. Now, what is green growth? This was explained by our earlier speaker, greenhouse gas emission. Let me tell you, did we not know that carbon emissions will heat the earth? Or only after we started feeling the heat, we are doing all these studies since, I mean, early, more than 20 years now. Did you not know this pollution will cause climate change? Okay, how many of you in this audience has ever studied or one article or book how this earth was formed? Any idea? Anybody has studied any article or book? Because when we are talking about this earth, we have to first understand how it was formed. Anybody has studied article or book? None of you? No idea? Billions of years before, I think better study. Today when you go back to home, just Google how earth was formed. We are talking about earth, its survival, and we have to know how it was formed. It took billions of years, not one, not two, 10 to 12 billion years for this earth to get formed, for the life to be, for life to be possible on the earth. 12-13 billion years from this earth took to form the crust, mantle, core of the earth, 6,000 kilometers down. Atmosphere, 100, yes sir? Yes sir, thank you, Big Bang Theory, I know about it. But this, what I'm trying to tell here is that it took billions of years for the oxygen to become 21% in the atmosphere so that we can live. Billions of years for the nature to remove carbon from the atmosphere, put under the earth in the form of coal, oil, or iron ore, or aluminum ore. So this CO2 was removed from the atmosphere by nature itself in the billions of years and put inside the earth. Somewhere water was stored on ice caps because there is a lot of water on the earth. So fresh water was stored on ice caps in the form of ice, in the solar, South Pole, North Pole, polar ice. Heat was stored in the earth as a lava, as a magma. So it took so many years for Earth to get formed, and now within 100 years, we have been trying to pull out the same oil, same coal, burning it and creating CO2 and global warming happening. So we are already disturbing the Earth, and that is why impact is coming. So we start disturbing the Earth, what will happen? I mean, definitely we will get some impact. And this aspect of climate stability, whenever we plan, just now Chief Secretary Sir mentioned about the plan up to 2050. I'm happy, sir. But this planning, whether those planners have taken into consideration the instability of climate factor for next 30 years into planning. If not, plans are going to fail. Because this is what happened earlier. The climate is changing very fast. We require only 0.04% CO2 in the atmosphere. Now we have more than 1%, reaching to 1.5%. So this climate change factor, if it has not been taken into consideration in any of your plan, your plans are going to be changed or going to not work out as per satisfaction. So this requires a lot of efforts from our side, and this is why this greenhouse impact, which has been changing the world, we need to change our way of working. So already explained what are the greenhouse gas emission. I mean, even if you stop, suppose you stop emitting these gases, do you think this climate change will not happen? Because we make a lot of steel, aluminium, that also generates a lot of CO2. But that process itself generates CO2. So shall we stop making steel and aluminium? I mean, we need to find new ways of producing steel and aluminium, because when you make steel from iron ore, you generate a lot of CO2 emissions. Because steel is nothing but oxides. You have to remove that oxide by generating CO2. Similarly, aluminium is like that. It's oxide in the form of iron, aluminium bauxite, aluminium ore. So when you remove oxygen, it becomes CO2. So shall we stop using aluminium and steel also? So there is no way. So point is this: we have to find newer ways of making steel and aluminium. Now look at this green hydrogen. We are now talking about green hydrogen because it is green fuel. So we need to find newer ways, and that is where green growth comes in picture. This was discussed. See, look at the countries who are emitting greenhouse gas emission. China is number 1, number 2 is USA, number 3 is India. These are among the top countries. And if you look at the left side, is shown as a sink in the way that it absorbs the carbon emissions. Left side of the arrow. So there are some forests, so that acts as a sink. And see, in 95, you can look at the right side. The first conference of parties took place. So since then, we recognize the climate change impact in 95. And last meeting was in 2022, 23 actually is upcoming. So all this conference of parties consisting of so many representatives from different countries, supported by scientists as a part of panel, International Panel of Climate Change, IPCC, they have been discussing this issue, and now it is, they come up with assessment report every year. So it is real, we have to accept there is no other way than the green growth now. And most of the countries have now put targets, we will become net zero. Now look at these assessment reports prepared by thousands of scientists. What do they say? See, look at this. Okay, Japan, they say they will be able to achieve the target. The arrow comes by 2050. Korea, maybe they will be able to achieve the target. Russian Federation, no. Its area is going up. Similarly, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Turkey, UK can achieve, USA will also be able to achieve the target. And even if they achieve the target, our CO2 emissions, the temperature rise will be still 1.5 or above that, because this has been taken care of when they calculated. Brazil, Australia, now look at India. India is still, I mean, if you look at our view of growth, as per the IPCC report, we will not be able to meet target in 2070. It shows like this. Unless we drastically change the way we produce, consume, or work. Drastically. You look at the arrow. It's totally different side. And all this have been done by hundreds of scientists to sit together and work out this. So we have to change our way of working and way of producing. This was also already discussed. Now look at last few years, India suffered so much of GDP loss. 160 billion hours of work hours were due to extreme heat or heat strokes, heat waves. And heat waves in India 30 times more likely. Depleting nature, this is all, proven things actually. Depleting supply of water, limited minerals, fossil fuels. So, this is discussed, focus on our latest budget. There is a lot of focus on green growth. Budget defines India's firm stand on green growth. Announcement in the budget results in India's climate change policies and align with countries' net zero goals, 2070. We hope we can achieve it. COP27 commitments. Outlay of so much on green hydrogen mission, and we want to become net exporter. And of course, decarbonization of industries. And actually, NPC has been working in this area since 70s, because our energy department, our environment department, we have stronger groups on energy and environment, and we have decarbonized many industries, SMEs and different sectors, large-scale industries, but only those industries which we have worked with. Priorities in the budget are these, and you look at the number 5 and 6, youth power. That comes from the academia. That is where this youth needs to be trained, and green growth is another target. So youth sitting behind, you are the future of this nation, you are the power, and it is recognized in this budget. So you are going to play a bigger role when it comes to the green growth. Most initiatives, green hydrogen mission, lifestyle for environment, discussed already. Battery energy storage we require, because we have renewable energy which you can't generate 24 hours. It depends upon weather, so you require battery systems. Mangrove plantation, that is very important for the biodiversity. Ecotourism, which already discussed about Manipur, so it is very important. Natural farming, that is another area. See, now we are going away from chemicals and carbon fossil fuels, which we always used to take from the earth. Waste to wealth, green credit program, it has been started. So you can come up with many new projects where you will get green credits in the waste to wealth. Manipur, I think already discussed, most threatened biodiversity hotspot. Loktak Lake, already discussed earlier. Deforestation, already discussed, you are losing trees. Weather erratic, droughts, already it was told. Declining forest cover, waste management, all these things are happening. So how many proofs are required to understand that we need to change the way we work? This was discussed. I will just straight away go to the now, that green growth also creates jobs. But before that, look at the first, this G20 finance ministers, these are the people who control budget. G20 countries, if you combine on their GDPs, 80% of the global GDP is this G20 countries, more than 80%. So these countries, when they decide, it is final. Now look at their statement. US $100 billion climate finance per year, they are going to give. Where will this money go? This money will go in green investments, causing green jobs. All the faculties here, every department, whether it's art, science, anything, you need to understand green growth. So there has to be some curriculum, there has to be some course, there has to be some chapter, every department, be it science, be it arts, be it commerce, be it economics. Understanding environment, sustainable development, green growth is very important. It has to be included in your curriculum, necessarily. Scaling up climate finance, meeting net zero targets. Who is speaking? Finance ministers, not the scientists. They are committing here. Deployment of climate technology startups, they are supporting. Climate investments, investment in green and low carbon technologies, carbon neutrality. So this is the statement, outcome report of the finance ministers of G20 countries. So there is a lot of commitment already exhibited by these people to support green growth. So what will happen? In coming years, we'll have green jobs. Green jobs will be created. They are already been created in different sectors, and it will definitely change the employment status in our country with green jobs coming, with a lot of investment coming. They are the areas: green agriculture, sustainable construction, sustainable forestry, green transport, energy, clean industry, where we are expecting a lot of green jobs. Now, so far, there is estimate that through only renewable, the solar, we are able to create 3 million green jobs within next 5-6 years. It's like utility solar scale, rooftop solar and wind. Only in these 3 areas, so many jobs are expected. You can see here the chart, more than 3 million. So, okay, I will come to the point later. See, look at this ad, see, resilient social sector services. Look at this job. Why they put resilient word? Because resilient is something which can be adapted to climate, to fight against climate change. Earlier, have you seen resilient word? Resilient citizen town specialist, resilient livelihood specialist. This is against to fight climate change. Somebody who has the talent, understanding how to carry out this job with climate change in mind. So already jobs are changing, your profile is changing. So your students have to know about green growth. Again, I emphasize here that any stream, now they have to be learning about the perspective on green growth. Another thing, when we talk about we don't have jobs, but here companies are saying we don't have people. Look at this news, just told you 2 days before. They say we have a project, but we don't have people available in our country with this talent. So it is the role of universities now to provide this talent, to provide these inputs, and to prepare our students for the next generation, for the next future, for the future of the country. There are some other examples where, this is a phase change material based free cold room. Again, small green projects which can be taken up in the country, in the region. Biomass is our freely available fuel in the country. More than 200 to 300 million ton of biomass we generate. It's nothing but agriculture waste, plantation, horticulture waste, and it is having fuel value, but we don't utilize it. It goes waste. So that's another area. Biogas, it can be another area. And if you remember, we used to add this ethanol in our petrol. It reached almost 10 to 15% now. And now there is a plan to increase to 20%. Successful project. So it will further increase. Now they are putting bio-CNG. So putting biogas in CNG. So any new startup, any new company coming up to produce biogas, there are companies available to buy it now. Because all city gas companies will require biogas to make bio-CNG to meet the government requirements. So all these new projects, there is a future. And that's why they'll create a lot of business and new jobs for the people who are having knowledge about this. This was discussed, green finance, and see there are some funds available in the country who are available to fund new projects, especially with regard to the green technologies and green investments. So with this, I once again thank all of you and Manipur University and of course the Manipur government, education department, and to give this opportunity to NPC to organize this workshop here, this conclave here. And DG has already mentioned that we are ready to work with the Manipur government and Manipur University to take up a carbon neutrality project. And one more thing, sir, Manipur government developed climate action plan 10 years before, sir, 2013. There is high time now to take stock of this plan, what we achieved, what we did not, and why, to do gap analysis and to improve it and to finalize it with regard to the net zero target. And that also NPC can help you, sir, in this regard. Thank you so much to all of you. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shri K.D. Bhardwaj, Director and Group Head, Environment Climate Action, NPC, for that very beautiful thematic presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, and dear audience and participant, now we have another 20 minutes of question and answer session. For that, you are encouraged to raise questions to our speakers and respected dignitaries on the dais. For that, please raise your hands and state your name, designation, and department. And please mention to whom your question is addressed, or is that an open question to all the dignitaries or speaker on the dais. So, ladies and gentlemen, the floor is open for question and answers. Yes, we have Madam there.
Respected chief guests and respected chairman from the dais, respected representatives for higher education and the principals, today it is a very good chance for me to express that as a local action plan, I am the principal Modern College. My name is Dr. Oinam Premila Chanu, and I was a student of this Manipur University. And I published one paper in 2007, August, regarding the strategies to develop home ecosystem in the context of global warming and for life to survive on Earth. As a simple citizen of our Manipur, and now the paper I have shared to 2.5 now mission, and my ambition is very much similar to the scope of this today's discussion. So, regarding the development of barren areas in the hill districts and converting the Jhum area into forest areas and poppy planted areas into another income generating project from the for the cities for the hilly people. That is part of the state policy, and I, as a simple citizen of Manipur, India, I want to propose some policies to be taken up as a rule. And policy number 1, low cost or free solar plate installation for poverty line families to be developed by the government. Point number 2, compulsion of conserving a water body or pond for conserving rainwater in the home ecosystem. And point number 3, compulsion of conserving at least one tree plant, for example, mango, having lots of leaves for each member of the family as a source of oxygen for survival. Point number 4, proper drainage system to be developed by the state government, because nowadays in every village, in every locality, there is no proper drainage system because of the misunderstanding of the locals. And point number 5, to ban disposable water bottles, as there are now water banks available, and to ban plastic disposable cups in the market. These are some of the steps I want to propose to the government for the local actions to slow this global warming, and as a means to conserve water. Nowadays in the Imphal city there is no water, and we are buying the water every day. So these are the points I want to propose to this platform. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your thoughtful ideas and policy. Thank you so much. And we have another sir there. Yeah.
Myself, Ashok Roy Chaudhary, Principal NG College. I have a very simple query to our Chief Secretary. Now Manipur, mostly the Imphal Valley is facing an unprecedented water scarcity. But there was a plan in Manipur which is known as DPIIT Dam. And a very important component of the DPIIT Dam was the water reservoir in the upper river of the Barak that would give sufficient water to Manipur. And what is the present position of the DPIIT Dam? That simply I wanted to know.
I think I mentioned that we are making an integrated plan of water reservoirs, source of water in decentralized manner in the hill districts, and partial decommissioning of Loktak. I did not go into detail because we are doing a scientific study through the ADB how to bring the water, and Ijai river itself will bring so much of water, 110 million MLD there, plus 45 of Nochinkeching for Imphal East and West, plus the existing water capacity should sustain the population. The DPIIT Dam is a too big a project of 15 megawatt and catastrophic, such huge hydro projects, and their environmental impacts are also innumerable. And you know the background of DPIIT more than me. I heard DPIIT when I was a professional, and I think Arkan Imai wants to say something on DPIIT. Not in my radar.
DPIIT Dam is a non-starter. It will never be implemented because despite the fact that the ministry says that there is no fault line, in the GSI says that there is no fault line, but in the ONGC map, 500 meters ahead of the dam site, there is a fault line. Even if water is impounded in the DPIIT Dam, it can't be brought to Imphal because the elevation is different. You can't bring water from the lower level to the higher level. It's impossible, and it has to go through a series of hill ranges. The only problem, the only solution is the Thobal Dam. And Thobal Dam also, the quantum of water that is available in the dam is very limited now, because the dam has taken umpteen number of years to complete, that by the time the environment has changed dramatically. Sindra Dam was supposed to provide irrigation facilities, but from day one it has not provided irrigation facilities because it had taken too much of a time for its completion. Thobal Dam was started, it took nearly 40 years to complete. Every medium irrigation project in Manipur have taken too long a time to get any real benefit. Khobum Dam is a totally wastage of money. I will make certain observation to what my senior colleague, Dr. Rajesh Kumar, has said about Loktak. No government will do anything which will harm the state or the people. But whether the government have taken all aspects into consideration, whether the project that is being proposed or is being taken up will actually benefit the people or the state, that is the issue where we question. After my retirement, I have been questioning the government in a series of articles which I have written, because I have written extensively on Loktak, on the environment. It's basically a trust deficit of the public on the government, because in the past, the government have made certain things or allowed certain things to happen in Loktak. Loktak comprises of 326.21 square kilometer of land. Due to two then honorable MLAs, a road was constructed connecting Topul to Kokchai, cutting the Loktak Lake into two parts. The northern part had been separated from the central portion. It was not stopped. Then another honorable MLA tried to construct a sluice gate on the Khortak channel. We have to file in PIL to stop it. So there is a very serious trust deficit on whether the government have taken everything into consideration. We are all pro-development. We do not want Manipur to stagnate as it is now, counting from the last, we are in the 6th in terms of GDP. Fortunately, we have done slightly better than Meghalaya. 3 years back, we are 3rd after Bihar and UP. Now we have risen up to the last, we are in the 6th position. Loktak, I have done lots of study. I have visited Loktak an umpteen number of times. Then there was an attempt to connect a land bridge from Mayanga Imphal to Karang, which will totally the water circulation will literally stop. Loktak water is now one of the poorest because there is no movement of water. Taknu water, if our rowers fall on the water, they suffer from skin diseases. So there is a need to look into the problem in a much more holistic manner, rather than in a piecemeal manner. Ring road construction is fine, but cutting across the lake to construct a road should have been a strict no-no, but it has been permitted. I have been talking since 2018, I have been talking about poppy plantation. I have been predicting that there will be local labs to produce heroin, or brown heroin base or white heroin base. It is only in 2019 government have started thinking about it, taking action. And the quantity of opium, and even in the UNODC, there is a talk, even though there is no official records as yet, there is a talk that 10% of the opium produced in the Golden Triangle is coming from Manipur. So these are areas. My colleague A.K. Joshi will be telling about forests. So why should hill people plant trees when they are not getting any money? And I am very happy that one of our honorable MLA have spoken extensively on carbon trading during the last assembly session. Any citizen who does certain activities which are in the larger interests of the state has to be compensated. And carbon trading, despite its various disadvantages that carbon trading has got, is an area which can be looked into so that the hill people are willing to not only plant trees, but sustain it. When I was STO in 1986 in Ukrul, I planted a pine tree in Mongkot Champu. After 30 years, it is all cut down. The hill has become all barren. Lungchong Wi-Fi, we have planted there. Now there is hardly anything. If the carbon trading is done, then it will be in the interest of the villager to ensure that the forest continues. Coming to a philosophical aspect, say sustainable development. Whose sustainability is it? Is it regarding nature, or is it regarded to meet the greed of the human being? History is replete with the greed of humans, nothing else but the greed of human being. And Richard Dawkins, in his Selfish Gene, have very clearly emphasized on it. Our greed is such that when Rachel Carson wrote her Silent Spring in the 30s about the impact of use of pesticides on commercial crops, people doesn't realize the impact. When Barry Commoner wrote the Closing Circle in 1971, he propounded 4 theories, 4 laws of ecology. And it took only till 1995 that the COP first met. It took more than 27, 28 years for the people to realize we are too late now. Manipur, I will not come into the international level, but I will come only to Manipur. People are talking about drainage, whether we have a drainage system. The answer is no. Earlier we had. Yeah. So the tendency of human being is to look into peaceful solution. We never look into a holistic manner. That is a tragedy. Your green revolution, we have discouraged the coarse cereal, we have discouraged the coarse pulse. Now we are emphasizing on the International Year of the Millet. Now again we'll come to the International Year of the Coarse Pulse. So what we need to look into is a holistic manner of development. With this observation, thank you very much for giving me the time.
Thank you so much, sir, for keeping your views very clearly and honestly.
Rahazuddin Sheikh, Principal, Lilong Harapi College, sir. 3 issues only. Time is very short, sir. First issue is...
Just wait, I think, thank you so much for all the insights given. I come to the last point, holistic development and drainage. If you please notice this, AIIB funded rigid pavement, drainage and cement concrete road take the entire Greater Imphal drainage and road requirement of all Laika, including the eco-friendly street lighting. It's one of the most comprehensive proposal any city has made in the country. And the Department of Economic Affairs says, you do it, we shall follow other parts. When the 5G was rolled out, they said you give right of way through the ductage and drainage. Except Greater Noida, this kind of road and drainage system is nowhere in the country. We are the first one to do it. Coming to Loktak, the first point which you mentioned, others I will not touch. Believe me, the director sitting in Manila, the Japanese lady Miyoka, she also said that seeing the energy state government, we want to make a global model of it. They suggested, it's already mentioned into UNESCO meeting, that Manipur government is keen to make it to the biosphere reserve. Once it becomes biosphere reserve, the lake conservation becomes supreme, the sustainability conservation. That's why I said that river basin treatment is one, the catchment area treatment is one, the pollution is one, the sewage silage is one. The lake will not be butchered the way you mentioned a road cutting. It's wrong, it's scientifically wrong. We are only trying to conserve and sustain the lake for years, not for anybody's greed. And when the water quality improves, the climate improves, we take care of livelihood of fishermen, people occupying area, thriving on the lake, then we, out of core zone, out of all perimeter defined by LDA Act, take that lakefront, make a walk path and resort and your handicraft, handloom demonstration, 5.5 kilometers, like any international lakefront which is sustained eco-friendly, we are going for that. ADB shall not also fund, we are very, very clear about that. That the environmental aspect, the social impact aspect, unless it is done. So right now ADB is commissioning another study on top of what we have done with our consultant. Their team will complete in a year's time, and then sub-components of project. 2 times I mentioned partial decommissioning of NHPC. It's not only NHPC, it's a Thai barrage or any barrage somebody has made. No, I'm not saying Thai being decommissioned. We will do a complete international standard hydrological study and take only right measure to help the people to sustain the lake for coming years. 50 years, 100 years, nothing shall be done unscientific or against the interests of people and public of Manipur and the lake. I just want to flag the issue. This government and this project shall not do anything which is scientifically or ecologically wrong.
And a humble request to everyone, as we are running out of time for the question and answer session, only 2 more questions, and would like to make an announcement that please make your question very brief and precise.
The first issue, as I have already mentioned, this is regarding the construction of international highways in the hill areas and also coming up of the railways. And this is a great boon to us, all the peoples in Manipur. Thank you, sir, for your noble step for reducing the carbon emission in the hill areas. So my question is, what about the valley area, especially in the heart of Imphal city, where huge number of vehicles are plying and increasing the emission of carbons? What are the steps taken off in an alternative way for reducing the carbon emission in the Imphal city, as well as the protecting the elderly people from dying out of the tension? More tensions have coming up for the congested areas, especially the approach roads, which are becoming narrower and narrower. Vehicles are coming up more in number. This is number 1 issue. Number 2 is, as I'm the principal of a college, and we had struggle for getting our campus environment pollution free, for which under the criteria of NAAC assessment and accreditation, one criteria is there where the government has to adopt some channelizing agency for certifying the audit of the green campus, that is environmental free campus is being maintained in the college campus or not. This has to be certified by making an audit from the part of the government or some other agencies. Is there any policy regarding that environmental audit in the college campuses? Because the this scheme or this mission starting from the home. So college is also one of our homes as a principal. So we just want to start our mission from our homes. So what are the things taken up regarding this issue? And the last but not least is the issue regarding the syllabus and the curricula, where the maintenance of workplace in the school or the college, university campuses, some occupational standard where the students has to take up the issues regarding the emission of carbon and the pollution and how we can make the environment safe, health and hygiene, everything. It has to be incorporated in the syllabus, especially for the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Manipur University, with the coming up of the NEP 2020, especially in the what to say, framing of the National Higher Education Commission, these occupational standards where the students has to have the concern about the safe and the safety hygiene of the environment and the emission of carbons and everything, which may contribute to this special summit in this conclave. These are the 3 questions, sir.
I just want to add some supplementary question, apart from my brother, our respected Tanima, Jamung Nimai. We love Loktak Lake, and our secretary also telling Loktak Lake will be our source of water. But my question is, now we wonder how long, now question is, how long Loktak will survive? We did the survey 5 years back with the CSIR, Ahmedabad, and we did a sort of analysis also at Poland. And the rate of the sedimentation for the Loktak Lake for the last 10 years, it increased more than triple times. Now the question is, lake depth is around maximum during the rainy season is 3 to 4 meters. When we were a very small child, and maximum depth of the Loktak Lake is more than 9 meters. So in this condition, as a say local people, we know everything the changes in the ecosystem of the Loktak Lake also. Now the catchment area having no any water in the river. Loktak Lake is lovely from all the sides, from the northern, from the southern, from the western, from the even the southern side also, from the eastern side also, lakes are coming, and the source of the water in the say rainy season is okay, but non-rainy season, source of the water is the lake, river. Now the rivers only 3-4 months having the water. Other times we are not getting any water. So source of the water is not there. If the plant is there, no water is there, I don't think we will get the water. This is our say worried part. So this thing kindly aid in the government policy. Thank you all.
2 of you, thank you so much. I'll come to NAC accreditation. I think the director is working on it. Syllabus part, the Vice Chancellor will take a note of it. Now, road part, since you came to Valley, the ring road is one project which will decongest the traffic. But we are also in the process of getting approval for an elevated highway from Henang to Kanchipur and Espar coming to airport and decongest the entire traffic of the city, right? That project also, I think, in a couple of months will be sanctioned. So that is going to take care of city part. Then you said the roads are narrow. This cement concrete road per drain, even in Laikai, the road width will increase by 50%, right? The drains will become part of the road. It's a very, very innovative kind of project. Manipur government has recently approved our scrapping policy, which the Honorable Prime Minister wants. We have already done it. All government vehicles from police and others are being taken, will be all scrapping it. Whatever is polluting vehicles will go away. Green vehicles, we are going for electric vehicles. So I think the government is quite conscious of it, and Manipur climate has been protected. Loktak, you have raised the point. I mentioned the catchment area, the afforestation right from the origin of the river up to the drainage and the river basin treatment I mentioned, right? The study is multi-pronged and multiple disciplines being taken care of. Now, this JICA project and KFW which we mentioned, when the JICA DPR is going to be there, we are going to ensure that every rivulet or river going to Loktak is also, entire catchment area is covered. We go in a very scientific manner, otherwise you are right. The sedimentation is there, it's becoming shallower and shallower. So preserving the lake itself is the fundamental question of this project. See, Lumphel Path became dry, right? Now we have a project to recreate Lumphel Path, which NDB is funding. We worked very hard to do it. Poram Path was a lake. It dried up. I took a drive in the morning, Vaitho Path. Of course, there is a project which has come for conservation, preservation. So we have to be very conscious of it. And Loktak being the largest lake, we are actually going scientific. We need public support, people support, your support, and help us propagate rightly and ensure that a right kind of policy is taken and right implementation is done. Then only Loktak can be saved.
in carbon markets, under voluntary carbon markets, there are basically two activities. One is the afforestation activities, for which a new project has to be there, afforestation and reforestation. The other is what is known as REDD plus, which is reduced emissions from forest degradation and deforestation. So here, but the thing is, in carbon markets, it has the compliances are very strict and very vigorous, very rigorous kind of say. And there has to be certification. So every activity is measured because somebody is putting money there and giving you the carbon credit. But what we will do is, like even in this KFW project, we are in talks with KFW to kind of initiate something, some project, some small area under the REDD scheme. And even in the JICA project, we will certainly, with JICA, we will have discussions on that we can include some of these REDD projects under REDD in these projects. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, we have one last question.
Myself, Professor Damayanti, I showed you Department of Life Sciences, Manipur, Botany, Manipur University. And I would like to draw the attention of the Honorable Chief Guest of Manipur. I support the idea of Dr. R.K. Nimai for carbon trading in the hilly areas. I think it will, if the hilly people grow the bamboo plants and carbon credit, they can get a lot of money instead of plantation of the poppy plants. So I think it will be very useful for the hilly the people for the upliftment of their socio-economic conditions. So I would like to request our Chief Secretary to take up this by the Manipur government. So thank you, sir, so much.
Sir, myself, I am Dr. Hemant Maite. Sir, I have just a query to Dr. Bardwaz, Sri Bardwaz and Rajiv. In fact, the per capita income of Manipur is right now around 82,000 annual. Now, if you talk about the Indian average, it's around 2 lakh. So, are we really thinking about the green kind of the things? So, without having the capital investment, how do we really think about the improvement in the people of the Manipur? Or are we people from these developing countries, including India itself, are we still think of the international standards set by the white people whose interest basically is of maintaining their high level of affluence and the consumption? And this has been proven. And are we really following their footsteps in such a way that, yes, for their level of the people, it is around 20% of the world population. The rest are from the developing countries, definitely. But the way that how they consume is too much high. So the way that they set the norms, that should we follow it? Now, this is the question that I want to raise. Thank you.
Oh, okay, sir. Okay.
I'll answer this question also.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for this excellent question and many others who. It's a very interactive session. Normally, we don't get such a good informed and enlightened audience that you see we have to tell them not to have too many questions. But I'm very happy for this very lively interactive session. Now, because we are really short of time, we are almost 20, 25, 30 minutes behind schedule. I had 10 minutes to sum up, so I'll just take a couple of minutes. Just to start with answering the question, you see there is no dichotomy. Even if Manipur per capita income is low, you see compared to what you said, the average standards, you see we need to understand, that's the basic central point, that India has been saying that developing countries are at are not the one who have to make sacrifices for ensuring that the green earth and all those concepts are there. That is why we said that India cumulatively only is responsible for 4% of the emissions in the last 175 years or so, whereas the population would have entitled it to 20%. So similarly, even less, you see what is India's average, you see Manipur even less industrialized, even less, population-wise. So you see, the point is, in spite of that, we have said that, look, that there's no point in always quarreling about it, there's a way out, and that is what we showed. Today India, that's why I said that renewable energy, today India is a leader in so many words, where we leapfrogged, and we did it 9 years before the target set by India. So how does it add to economy? This is the point. We see there is a huge economic opportunity in the green and sustainable growth rates. There is a climate finance issues. We keep saying that, okay, regular technology. Now take the example of, ethanol blending. Now 20% we are looking at. There is a huge agro-related, the whole value chain comes into it. So take sustainable ecotourism. We kept having so many issues on the Loktak Lake. You see how central it is to the identity and the importance of Manipur. See, I went there yesterday, and I was, compared to what I had thought based on the literature to what I saw there, I was really, really very sad. So that is why it is very important that we discuss about it. And I must tell you that this is not about Loktak, it is true all over. Urbanization is something which it is very less here. I mean, compared to in Imphal you can see, and deforestation, these are all over the country, all over the world. And there are lessons to be learned from it. So which is why because of paucity of time, otherwise I'd have, told several examples to, react to it. And as the CS has very correctly and mentioned it so many times, the agencies that are involved, JICA or ADB, I have had, almost 3 decades, very long association with them on N number of projects. Tamil Nadu, as you know, is one of the states which has the maximum number of multilateral agencies working across many, many sectors. And I have worked with them very, very, in fact, today, even now I am a consultant with the World Bank. And I can tell you this, that I have worked with them. So the point is, when they come in, they are actually much, much ahead of the times in what we are talking about, getting these green principles in getting, because you see, they have suffered also. In fact, so much so that Narmada, you see, dam, they got out of it because they felt that not enough is being done. You see, what I'm trying to only make the point is that don't worry about it. The state is in the right hands and they know what is to be done. There will be local issues always. So to answer the question very simply, that there is a lot of economic growth which comes in, and this is the learning that we need to have. There is no, but we need to understand the right appropriate technology. Take the example of Sikkim. I'm just giving an example of what it has done and how it is making money out of it. Need not be an industrialization, pathway that we take. Similarly, take Bhutan is an extreme example. But you see how Bhutan, is taking advantage and doing. But now let me come back to the summary part of it. I'm very happy to be here, and we have covered a lot of ground. And just to mention that, you see, ultimately, what are we talking about? We are talking about the fact that for all of us, sustainability is important. Without that, there is no other growth possible, which is, otherwise humanity will pay a big price. And, states like Manipur are very much in the whole development dialogue, and you are suffering from it also, as we can see, the congestion, the urbanization, the hilly areas. So it is very good that we get ourselves ingrained in whatever concepts which are there and take advantage of that. There are philosophical issues which were raised. There were issues relating to vehicles, congestion, the policy. So all I have mentioned in my presentation, very large number of central government initiatives, and most of them are being worked at the state level also. There is a funding for it. Taking advantage of that, we would be able to look at productivity and green growth for our development imperatives. And that is what this conclave is about, and I'm happy that it has evoked a very good response, and all of you are in a position to take this forward. I mean, in whatever you, as an academic body, and working closely, because your inputs, your thought process is very important, because you are leaders. You are the one who are mentoring, training very large number of students, and that is why it is very important for you to be on the right side of what the government is thinking, and they are open to it. As they say, that they are open to it. They would like, but they need to have technical opinion, they need to have thought leaders, and that is what is happening. So this is what we are trying to, start talking about all these issues. And I'm very happy and grateful for the initiative taken, and the Chief Secretary has very ably, given a large number of development initiatives that they are taking, and we should be happy that we are on the right path. So with these words, let me again say that the objective of having this kind of a sustainability conclave is very much getting fulfilled, and I'm sure you will have some takeaways from this which are positive and take it forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rajiv Ranjan, IAS retired, Director, ICRO, NPC. Thank you so much, sir, once again. Now, before the Board of Thanks would like to take a moment to honor and felicitate some more very esteemed person from whose activity and support we are able to organize this function successfully. First of all, I would like to have your presence on stage, Dr. Rangitabali Vaikom, IAS, Director, UHE, Government of Manipur. And to do the honor, I would like to request respected Registrar, Manipur University, Professor W. Chandbabu Singh. Thank you so much. And next, would like to request Sir T.H. Santikumar, Additional Director, Higher Education. Thank you so much, sir. And last but not the least, Shri Amitav Rai, Director, NPC. Thank you so much. Now, our Registrar, Manipur University, Professor W. Chandbabu Singh, will propose the Board of Thanks.
Thank you. I feel really honored on this very day for giving me an opportunity to propose the Vote of Thanks of the program Manipur's Sustainability and Conclave on Productivity and Green Growth, which is organized at Manipur University on Saturday, the 4th of March, 2023, which is jointly organized by National Productivity Council, Ministry of Commerce and Industries, Government of India, Department of Higher Education, Government of Manipur, and Manipur University. In fact, this program is very much at the right time. At the very outset, I'm so thankful to all the dignitaries on the dais and all the other distinguished members of the dais and learned other colleagues and members and participants. At the very outset, I extend my warm thanks to Dr. Rajesh Kumar, IAS, and Chief Secretary of Government of Manipur, and also the chief guest of today's program. Sir, you have highlighted this very well all about the holistic development plan of our Manipur state, and at the same time how we will make our economy green and our country green, and our state will be much more productive and developmental oriented. This is really a very good initiative, and we wish all our dreams are fulfilled in the coming days. I also thank Professor N. Lokendra Singh, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Manipur University, who spares his valuable time and organize this event and direct us to organize in a very systematic and a meticulous way. And because of your support, we are able to organize this function in a very good and effective manner. You also highlighted very effectively all about the transformational requirement of our economy. At the same time, how we are going to transform in the field of education. And you talk about the act is policy, look is policy, sports, entrepreneurship, and the developmental aspects of the state of Manipur, and how Manipur University is going to support in that line. We're so thankful to you for giving your valuable support and the time. We are also so thankful to Sri Pradeep Kumar Jha, IAS Commissioner, Textile, Commerce and Industries, Government of Manipur. Sir, you have mentioned very effectively all about economic development, social development, and how this can be linked with sustainability, and how the innovative practices, technology, and sustainability can be translated so that the economy or our state looks bright and performs very well in the coming days. We are also thankful to Sri A.K. Joshi, IF, PCCF, and HOF, Government of Manipur. You have highlighted this very well. All important aspects of biodiversity, carbon crisis, challenges of green ecosystem, and forest area losses, and infrastructure, livelihood, rehabilitation, challenges of economic losses, and pollution. These aspects are extremely important, and it is very much related to the theme of the discussion, Manipur Sustainability and Conclave on Productivity and Green Growth. So we once again extend warm thanks to you for your presentation and very, very important views. We are so thankful to Sri Sandeep Kumar Nayak, IAS Director General, National Productivity Council. Sir, we are so thankful once again to you for your presentation and holistic ideas and views with relation to the projects and carbon neutralization, and how we can jointly work between Manipur University, National Productivity Council, and the Government of Manipur, and how that can help in transforming our state and economy, and that is really a very important aspect. We are so thankful to Sri K.D. Bhardwaj, Director and Group Head, Environment and Climate Action, National Productivity Council, for your very good thematic presentation and very important insights on this particular theme. We are also very much thankful to Dr. Rangitabali Waikhom, who is the key person for organizing this particular event in our university. Because of your energy and effective arrangement and the planning, we could do this program very, very successfully. We are so thankful to Dr. R.K. Nimai, our invitee on this particular conclave, and we are so thankful to you, sir, for giving very important and holistic insight on the green economy and green growth, and what is there in this sustainability. We are also thankful to the Director, National Productivity Council, and all other members, particularly the Additional Director of Higher Education, Government of Manipur, and all other heads of the departments, deans of the schools of studies, and principals of different colleges, and faculty members from various colleges of Manipur, and research scholars of the university, all the media persons for your effective arrangement. At the same time, all those people who are actively working for recording and the live streaming of this program in a very effective manner. Lastly, I thank one and all who are involved in this organization of Manipur Sustainability Conclave on Productivity and Green Growth. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Professor W. Chan Babu Singh, Registrar, Manipur University, for that very detailed vote of thanks. And once again, thank you so much, everyone, for your very active participation. And would like to everyone to please have the lunch we have arranged for the VIP and dignitaries. It's here outside this hall, and for all the participants, it's on the ground floor. We have arranged the lunch. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day ahead. Thank you. Namaskar. Kurum Sari.